Hello, today's year of my life takes us back to 1999, perhaps the most famous season in the history of English football. My guest today, former Manchester United and England man, Phil Neville. Phil, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well. How's family? You okay at the minute?
We're all good. We're obviously in lockdown back in the UK, but we're spending a lot of quality time together, which we very rarely do. We're just praying that everyone else is safe around the world and we can get back out into some kind of normality.
Absolutely. Well, let's see if we can put a smile on a few Manchester United faces, at least for the next half hour. So 1999, so what, you would be 21 coming into that season. You'd already played 100 games for the first team, but did you know what your best position was at that point?
No, and I don't do now. 20 odd years later. No, it was, I was predominantly a fullback, but I played left back, right back in that 99 season. I played in midfield as well. And people used to say, oh, you're a jack of all trades. And that used to go against me. But ultimately, in that season, I played nearly 40, 50 games in different positions because of my flexibility and versatility. It enabled me to get in the team in other positions and support players in other positions. So I saw it as a strength, but more importantly, so did my manager, Sir Alex Ferguson, and that's the only person that I listened to.
You looked at that squad at the start of the season, competing with you for various positions. You had Gary at right back, Dennis Irwin at left back, and then for those centre midfield positions, Roy Keane, Paul Scholes, Nicky Butt. Yeah. It was pretty tough to get a game there.
Easy, yeah. No, and Wes Brown broke into the team that year as well. So we had two players for every single position. So it was going to be difficult. But what I said to myself at the start of the season after speaking to Sir Alex was that I was going to trust the manager. He said he was going to rotate. He said he was going to give us all our games. And he stayed true to his very word right to the very end of the season. And it was the competition for places, actually, that I thought that helped us win the treble.
At the start of the season, what was the mood like when you went into pre-season? Because it hadn't been a great summer, really, had it? Especially for the England players, for you and Nicky, hadn't even gone to France, which was a surprise. And then David Beckham was sort of the pantomime villain after Argentina. Did you all feel like you had a point to prove?
Well, and we'd lost the league the year before to Arsenal, which was a hammer blow for us. I'd not gone to the World Cup, neither had Nicky. David had come back from the World Cup. And the England players hadn't performed, but obviously he got sent off, so he was public enemy number one. The manager had made some big signings. Jaap Stam, Dwight York came in, Jesper Blomqvist. We didn't start the season very well. We got beat 3-1 in the Charity Shield by Arsenal, who'd won the league the year before. They were the team to beat. They had fantastic players. They had this new way of playing, exciting, fast, attacking players. And we knew we had to start the season really well, which we didn't. It got to about, I think, October, and we were still being really inconsistent.
There was nothing really remarkable, certainly no signs of what was to come in the first half of the season. I was going through a few of the games and picked out, I think it was Wimbledon was a 5-1 at Old Trafford. Yeah. Everton home was a 4-1. Liverpool was a big game at Old Trafford, 2-0. And one thing that all of those three had in common, you started them all.
That's the reason why. No, I think I remember the Liverpool one because we were coming off the back of a couple of poor results. There was a bit of pressure building, and we played really well against Liverpool. Scholes scored a fantastic goal. Dennis scored a penalty, but we were inconsistent. We weren't gelling as a team. Jaap Stam had come in, fantastic player. Probably took him a little bit of time to settle in. Yorkie was the only one of the signings probably that was lighting up a little bit, scoring goals. But apart from that, I would say it wasn't until probably just after the Christmas period. I might be wrong. I think we went to Charlton, won 1-0 last game. From then on, I think we all said to ourselves, we cannot afford to lose a game. And I don't think we did.
Yeah, it was 33 from just before Christmas. There's a defeat. I just wondered, I think it was 19 of you that season played double figures in the Premier League alone. Was that in some ways almost a negative? I mean, how many of you would you say knew that if you were fit, you would start any given Saturday?
None of us, apart from probably the spine, Schmeichel, Jaap, Keno, would play probably every game. Andy Cole was probably our main centre forward. But apart from that, if you think Nicky and Scholes, he used to rotate a little bit. I know our wingers, Jesper and Ryan, used to swap sometimes. Ollie played on the right sometimes instead of Bex. Gary Gary Dennis probably rotated as well. So everybody knew that there was periods of the season, periods of months where you would play probably very rarely play the 3 games in the week. You would play 1, miss 1, play 2, miss 1. But actually, if you look back now, that's quite normal. Sir Alex was the first person that started that rotation, started to look after players, making sure that he would be able to get the best players fit all the time. And we were so lucky that we had 4 centre forwards in the squad that loved each other. Yorkie and Coley were phenomenal up front together. Best friends on and off the pitch. They were lively. Coley was quiet. Yorkie was loud and laughed, and they worked off each other. And then Teddy and Ollie struck up a partnership that was equally as good. And you know what? Sir Alex kept all 4 happy. So if we was drawing games, 2 would come on. And we had this feeling that was always goals in the games. And it proved it at the end of the season when Ollie and Teddy scored in the Champions League final.
Is that credit to Sir Alex to keep the 4 happy, or was it a lot to do with the personality of the players? I think it was quite well reported that season. Ollie had a chance to go. I think United accepted a bid from Tottenham, and Ollie decided to stay. Is that credit to him, or is it to Sir Alex for keeping everyone happy?
I think the character of the player. I think as players we knew that this was a brilliant club to play for. But Sir Alex was a man management genius in terms of keeping everybody happy. And people ask me all the time about it because I was probably part of that rotation and not playing every single week. But he used to always make me feel as if I was the most important player in his squad. He used to always make me believe that I would get my chances, that I could trust him, and that I was probably one of the vital cogs. And he had that ability to make you feel like that, and everybody else had that same feeling. So when we came to big games, we probably knew who was going to play. I could probably pick off the top of my head. You say Schmeichel, Gary, Johnson, Stam, Irwin would be the back 4. I accepted that, but I knew the game after or the game after that, I would get me opportunities. And so we all felt a part of it.
When did the term, the treble, first get mentioned? Who was the first person to throw it out there?
Oh, I think we started to probably think about it when we beat Arsenal in the replay in the FA Cup.
Really, that
yeah, oh yeah. We would never speak about winning trophies until we got our hands on the trophy. But what would happen? We was on this real roller coaster of games after game after game. We beat Arsenal, and that almost won us the league. Then we were in the final of the FA Cup. We knew we were ahead in the league. So all of a sudden, we had Inter Milan, Juventus in the Champions League. We got past Inter Milan in the quarter-final. We had Juventus, our biggest rivals probably over the last that period, the previous 3 or 4 years. They were a brilliant team. We were so close on every front. But the semi-final, I thought, against Arsenal when we beat them in the FA Cup replay, that for me was the point when it was like all guns ahead. We could smell something special. The goal that Giggsy scored, the Schmeichel save in the semi-final, then the games that we used to come back late in, you could smell something special, something unbelievable was happening. You pinch yourself sometimes and think, wow, is this really happening? Another game won. We had a clock in the dressing room, and the players used to say after every game, the clock's ticking, there's another one gone, there's another one gone. And that momentum took us right to the final hurdle.
At that game, the Arsenal, the replay, you started it. I remember watching the game just as a neutral, and it was one of the best FA Cup games I can ever remember. Beckham scored the goal to put you 1 up, then Bergkamp scored, Roy got sent off. But from your point of view, what were you thinking as the clock ticks down and you go in for that challenge on Ray Parlour? Do you think he made too much of it?
I needed VAR, I've got to say. No, it was actually 21 years, I think, last Tuesday since that game. It was the greatest game I've ever played in, 100%. Really? I think you ask any player on that pitch, Arsenal or Man United, it was the best game ever. I was absolutely shattered. I was dead on my feet. I made a stupid tackle. And at that moment, I thought my Man United career was over. I thought it was over. I thought, you don't come back from this. This is a big moment in your life, a big moment in your career. They score, they win, they go on and win the double. And then Peter saves it, and the rest is history. And I joke with Peter all the time that He can have anything in the world off me. He can come to my house, take my house, my car, anything. He saved my Manchester United career in that split second.
So obviously everyone knows what happens then. You go to extra time. Ryan's on as a sub. Ryan Giggs and scores maybe the best goal in the history of the FA Cup.
Yeah. I mean, everyone knows the pass from Vieira, and I was left back, he was left wing, and Ryan had just come on, I think, for Jesper Blomqvist, and I set off like I would. I tried to overlap him, but because he was fresh, I was running, he was running, but he was getting away from me, and then he'd go past one person, then he went past Keown, then he went past Dixon, and then you think, wow, what's happening? And then you see Scholes in the middle, who literally had an open net if he crossed it, and he fired it above Seaman. And the only thing I remember was him charging towards me, and he would never, ever take his shirt off. Giggsy had probably the most sensiblest, boringest celebrations ever. He just twiddled his arm around or something. He took his shirt off. He's coming towards me, and then the fans came and jumped on us, and all I could smell was the smell of the fans, Giggsy and his hairy chest in my face, and it was one of those moments when it was, like I say, that game was the greatest, and it was probably fitting that the greatest goal ever scored in FA Cup was scored on that particular night.
I hope he used a good deodorant.
No.
So you're on this run. So I suppose the next game in that list then. So second leg against Juventus. First game it wasn't the greatest of semi-finals. 1-1 at Old Trafford. Giggsy again gets the late equaliser.
Yeah.
At that point, were Juventus the team to beat in European football?
Oh, they were the team to beat. I mean, you think about Deschamps, they had a midfield of Deschamps, Zidane, and Conte. Obviously the manager was Chelsea. They had Inzaghi. They had brilliant players. Little left winger called Delivio. They had Montero and Ferreira at the back, who were just typical animals, Italian defenders. They went 2-0 up. They went 2-0 up, but it was one of those games. No English team wins in Juventus. But they went 2-0 up, and at never one point I thought we was going to lose. We were still creating chances. We were still playing really well, but the belief never went from us. And then obviously Keane scores the first one, I think. We were playing direct, and Yorkie scores the second. And then we came in at half time, and there was only one winner. They'd gone. The crowd had gone. The crowd was silent. Turin, Stadio delle Alpi, it was really hostile normally, but it was silent. And then in the second half, obviously, Big Pete clears one, smashes it as high as he possibly can, bounces. Yorkie goes round Paliuca, I forget the name, Peruzio, and sticks it in the net. And I remember just charging down the touchline. It was a moment that I'll never forget in probably the toughest place I've ever played in Turin, against one of the best teams I played in the Champions League.
What was Roy like after that game? Because remember, just after he'd scored, he got the yellow card, which meant he would miss the final. Was he slightly subdued, or was he happy for the club, the team?
Well, Scholesy as well got booked in that game. So Scholesy and Keno came at the end of the game. You would never know. I was obviously very close to Scholesy. We were best friends. And straight away, you go up to them, you commiserate with them but ultimately that time we had such a good team spirit. I think probably nearer the game, the final, probably their disappointment probably started to hit them. But when you're playing so many games and your emotion, you probably don't realise it at the time. And it wasn't probably till we got to Barcelona and we got to our hotel that you looked at them, you looked in their eyes and you saw the disappointments. And I'd say that was probably one of my saddest moments, probably. You know, Roy Keane captain, the best captain I've ever played under. And my best friend Scholesy didn't have the opportunity to play in that game. Scholesy a couple of years later played in Moscow, so he obviously got his reward. But for Roy, I always think it's probably one of my saddest moments in football that he didn't have that opportunity to lift the cup. He was our captain, he was our leader, he was probably someone that I learned so much from. And for him not to be on that pitch in Barcelona was one that I felt really, really sad for him, really. But that's football, I suppose.
You got your place in the Champions League final, first time in over 30 years.
Yeah.
Then you got to get the league done. I think you drew 4 of the last 8. Yeah. Was there ever a feeling that you were starting to maybe just slightly run out of steam? There was, I think, 2-2 at Anfield. Paul Ince scored, of all people. Paul Ince scored. Dennis got sent off that day, which actually later on becomes quite handy for you.
Yeah.
Did you ever start to feel that maybe you're running out of steam?
Yeah, there was bound to be a point when the games would catch up with us. We were playing every 3 days. We were running off adrenaline. We drew at Anfield. I remember playing before the last game of the season. We went to Blackburn. We drew. I played in midfield. We drew. We equalised. We weren't flowing. The rhythm had gone a little bit from our play a little bit, but we were still getting. We weren't losing games, and we knew we were still in the driving seat. And we knew that we got to the last game against Tottenham needing a result. We had a great record against Tottenham. Tottenham had nothing to play for in the league. We knew that if we got to last game, it wasn't going to be easy, but we always backed ourselves. And typical of Manchester United, we went a goal down. I think Les Ferdinand chipped Peter Schmeichel. The stadium went silent. We missed a couple of chances. You do have that back in the mind. Is it going to be our day? And then Beck scores just before half-time. And then literally at half-time, the boss makes a substitution, brings off Teddy Sheringham, puts on Andy Cole. And the first touch he had was looping it over Ian Walker into the back of the net. And from that moment onwards, it was a celebration. I would say that the 10 days from winning the league against Tottenham, FA Cup, then the Champions League, were the best 10 days of my professional life, without a shadow of a doubt.
When did you find out then you would start the FA Cup final? I mentioned the Dennis Irwin sending off against Liverpool because that obviously meant the left-back spot was open. Did you know pretty much from that point that you had a good chance to start in the FA Cup final?
Yeah. I was injured for the Liverpool game. Dennis got booked, then he got sent off. I knew then that probably I would play in the FA Cup final, which was great, but sad for Dennis. But I think at the time it was unbelievable at the time because we had no Roy Keane, no Paul Scholes for the Champions League final. So Nicky Butt for the FA Cup final. The boss couldn't take any risks with him. He didn't even get him stripped. He wasn't even on the bench, and he was devastated. And I remember going up to him saying, "Look, Butty, it doesn't matter. You're playing in the Champions League final in 3 days' time." He went, "I've waited, or I've dreamt all my life of playing in an FA Cup final. This is every kid's dream. I'm not bothered about the Champions League final." And that was the mentality, really. That shows how big the FA Cup. Obviously, Roy played in the final. So did Scholes. Teddy came on, scored. Scholes scored. The FA Cup final was a bit of an anticlimax because it was sandwiched in between two massive events, and it was quite easy. Newcastle were quite timid at the time, and ultimately everybody wanted to get to Barcelona for the final.
When Roy got injured, I think it was really early on, wasn't it? Was there at that point? Was there any thought of maybe this could go against you?
No, not really. We brought Teddy on. Beck's moved inside to central midfield where he would play in the final. So the game was probably one of the most straightforward, simplest games that I've played in terms of big occasions. It was quite straightforward. I don't think we got out of second, third gear. We won the game quite comfortably, and we had a fantastic day. And that was the double. You know, the double was massive. But ultimately, what we were now starting to dream of was the treble.
So was Barcelona slightly bittersweet for you because the treble is enormous. Like no one had ever done it. No one's ever done it since. But to be on the sidelines, was there a part of you that almost resented having to watch on? Or obviously you desperately wanted to play.
Yeah, I mean, you wanted to play. You wanted to be a part of it. You wanted to get on the pitch. But we had that bigger spirit in the team that ultimately we all played our part. And it was always going to be difficult for me to get on the pitch. I understood that. We were down in the game. We weren't playing particularly well. We had no rhythm because of the breakup with no Keane, Scholes. Giggsy was on the right. Bex was in the centre with Nicky. Jesper was on the left. We were playing against a brilliant team. And I never forget when they brought the trophy out next to us. They had the Bayern Munich colours on them because obviously they were 1-0 up. They were dominating the game. But they had a chance, probably about 10 minutes to go. They hit the crossbar. Mehmet Scholl just chipped it over Peter Schmeichel. And you thought to yourself at that moment, they're not going to get another goal here. And something is just not quite right. You could smell something. Then the boss made a substitution. I think we had 4 centre forwards. Bex went out to the right wing, started to whip in a few crosses. And then all of a sudden, the United fans, there must have been 50,000 in the stadium. The momentum, the feeling changed, and you could just feel it. You get goosebumps. You were sucking the ball into the back of the net. And the second goal, actually, I think epitomises what we were about that year. The second goal was won by a corner on the left wing, where my brother at right back was on the left wing, taking somebody on at left wing, where we just went absolutely gung-ho. It was complete and utter chaos. And when Ollie scored that goal, it was emotional. I think everyone cried. It was just the best feeling ever.
What did you do when the goal went in? Did you join that huge big pile?
Yeah, me, Andy Cole, I think Jonathan Greenig, Wes Brown, David May, who always loved the celebration. We just went charging down the touchline. We jumped on top of everybody. I still have that little montage now, because those last probably 2-3 minutes was the only thing I remember from the game. The celebrations, when the final whistle went, I went straight on the pitch, went straight to my brother. We were emotional. And then obviously the celebrations afterwards was just magical moments.
1-1, would you have taken extra time at that point, or did you?
No. We were dead. We were shattered, and all the way through that season we scored late goals. So when we scored the first, even when the board went up, so I think 2-3 minutes left, we thought that was a lifetime. We believed that was a lifetime. We had this saying, we will get one more opportunity. So when the first goal went in, we all went back to the bench. There was no sort of like, let's consolidate now. It was, we will get one more chance. We will get one more opportunity, and it has to fall to the right person. And it did. It fell to the super sub, the one that didn't need warming up. He just went on there, the silent assassin, and shoved it in the back of the net. Teddy wins the flick at the near post. But the feeling inside the stadium changed. I've got to say, 10 minutes to go, Charlotte's the bar. The feeling inside the stadium from it just being a carnival to being, it felt like Old Trafford. It felt like those supporters were sucking it into the back of the net.
You said fell to the right person. Was Ollie the best natural finisher for all Dwight York and Andy Cole that were amazing this season? Was Ollie the best finisher?
The best. He didn't need a touch. He didn't really have like a bend. He just smashed it through the keeper's legs. That was his technique, and he knew where to put the ball. He knew where to be, where the ball would bounce. He was an absolute serial goal scorer. And you knew when he went on the pitch, he always got an opportunity. I think I remember playing a game. Must have been, I think, 6-2 down at Southampton. He got an opportunity just by going on. He had that knack of being in the right place at the right time that most brilliant centre forwards have.
What was the bus parade like?
The bus parade was quite funny. I was speaking to Peter Schmeichel about this the other day. Is that you finish the game, you don't go to bed, you just want to get home. Literally, we landed in Manchester. We just wanted to get home. We'd had 60, 70 games, and we were on this bus, open top bus, for 3 to 4 hours, and we went through Altrincham, down through Sale, through the villages on the way into central Manchester. I've got to say, there was thousands on the streets, and we come to the main street in Manchester. It's called Deansgate, and just before we get to Deansgate, we were sort of like saying, right, at the end of Deansgate, we get off the bus, we go home to our families, and we sleep for the next month. We turn round Deansgate, and literally the best moment as a Manchester United player or supporter, we turned around Deansgate, and there was 300,000-400,000 people down Deansgate, on roofs, out of windows, on balconies, up lamp posts, and it took us 3 hours going down Deansgate, and I did not want Deansgate to stop. It blew us away. It was emotional. The noise was incredible. I will never forget, the noise was deafening. And we went into the arena at the end of Deansgate, and there was 20,000 people in there, and it was just the best probably 2-3 hours ever, from turning into Deansgate, knowing what Manchester United means to people in Manchester, knowing what the European Cup is. It gives me goosebumps now talking about it.
Last one then, Phil. So at the time, 99, probably the most famous season in English football. Where does it stand against Arsenal's invincible season, City and the points record, Liverpool last year? Was that the greatest season ever?
Well, I mean, a couple of seasons ago, Man City were going for the quadruple. And I never forget, we got to January and they were going for the Carabao Cup, I think, at the time. And I remember thinking, wow, they've got a chance here. And people was talking about City going to win the quadruple as if it was just a given, as if it was just going to be easy, as if it was just going to be handed to them on a plate. And I remember thinking, they do not know what they have to do. They do not know the obstacles, the challenges, the effort, the luck. We had so much luck that goes into winning a league title, never mind 3 trophies. And ultimately, it's never been done. And there's been some brilliant teams, the Invincibles, the Chelsea team, the Liverpool team last year, the City team, brilliant teams, equally as good as ours, but nobody's done the treble. And I think what that tells me is that that's probably the best team, the greatest team in terms of achievements that probably has ever lived. And that I don't say that because I was part of it. I say that because winning the treble was quite unique. And I would say it's going to be very difficult in the modern era for people or teams to do that again. And you know what? Teams are good enough. It's just that you need the luck that we had in '99.
It was amazing year, Phil. Thanks so much for reliving it for us.
Thanks, Andy.